number 3 here, we need to consider the range of f and the range of g of x. It might be easier to sketch a diagram. So for f, so this is my x, this is my y, and here is x here must be larger or equal to 0. So starting from 0 here, it goes up like this for this function of f is equal to square root of x. Okay, so here you can see that the range here, range of f of x in this case, is just going to be larger or equal to 0 from the graph. Next, range of g of x. Range of g of x, first it might be easier to sketch a diagram. Now if GDC is allowed, then obviously you can use GDC to sketch this diagram. 5 minus x squared is going to look something like this. So here is 5. So here you can see the range of the range here is this. That's the range. So is g here must be smaller or equal to 5. That's the range. All right. Next, does g of f exist? Well, for this to exist, what we want is that the range of f must be a subset of the domain of g. So now let's check. The range of f is greater or equal to 0, and the domain of g is x or real number. So obviously we have this, okay, that is the set of f that is larger or equal to 0 is a subset of real number. Right, so since this is true, then g of f of x exists. Okay, and the last question, find g of f of x if it exists. So that means I will start with g of f of x. Start with g first, that is 5 minus, when I see an x, I use a big bracket and square. And inside the big bracket, I'm going to have f of x, which is square root of x. So simplifying this, I will get 5 minus x. That's a linear function. So the composite function here is a linear. Now we're going to look at this question again. What is the domain of g of f of x? Well, the domain of g of f of x is really depending on the domain of the input to this composite function, which is f of x, which is x is greater or equal to 0. So the domain here is just going to be the domain of f. What is the range of g of f of x? Well, the range here, if looking at this, is that this number here must be greater or equal to 0. So I would have, if we sketch this out, y, and here is x, over here is 5. 5 minus x goes like this. Here is again 5. So this is my function, g of f of x. So it's clear to see that the range here is g of f of x must be larger, smaller or equal to 5. That's the range.